Hey, what's up everybody? Nyonyxx here with your quick 1-minute EDM tip of the day. This is going to be a short intro video on the effects of overcompression. There's tons of videos out there on how to compress. I wanted to do a short video on some of the negative effects of overcompressing, and at a later date I will give you a longer video or a couple videos with examples. I'm doing this from my laptop, and sadly I can't hear anything on a 5-watt mono speaker. So I apologize for that. So just feel free to listen to me ramble for a couple minutes and give my opinion on this topic. And if you get a quick second, you'll see a link in the description to a remix contest, a Linkin Park remix contest. If you could drop me a couple votes for that, I would truly appreciate it, and it means a lot. Okay, anyways, my 2 cents on overcompression. When I started producing, like most people, I realized, or I heard, compress everything. Massive compression everywhere. So I would compress every fucking thing. And I couldn't even hear the compression working. I would just compress for shits and giggles. And I realized after a couple of years of doing this that compression does a couple things, and I'll say, I'm not going to break down how a compressor works, but I'm going to say what it does from an audible standpoint, in my opinion. It can make things sound denser, it can make things sound bigger, which you're thinking, awesome, density, bigness, great. Yes and no. If you're compressing everything is getting denser, everything is getting bigger, and the first rule I learned in mixing the hard way was you cannot make every single element big. Cannot do it. You need elements in the background, you need elements that don't take up much room, you need elements that sit in certain places, etc., etc. So for example, just say you have a big kick drum, and then you layer another kick drum on top of that, and you compress both of those. Let's say they're out of a sample pack. First of all, most likely those samples are already been compressed before. And oftentimes I found that, I use deadmau5's X-First sample pack, oftentimes I found that samples out of that pack don't need much compression, if at all. Sometimes if I want a really boomy bottom end, I can compress it to make it sound bigger. You know, those modern big room drops nowadays with their boomy ass bottom ends. Compression might help on those, and I mean it definitely does help. But you know, if you want a clean punch kick, as long as you choose the right sample, you usually don't need too much compression, if any at all. Now the reason being is, if you just say you compress a low end kick, you compress a high end kick, they take out a ton of room. You already get a little bit of a boomy effect going on, which is fine. Well, then just say you compress a bass line, you know, heavy compression on a bass line, then you do heavy compression on a lead, and then you do heavy compression on some vocals. You end up having this, everything is so dense that it starts fighting with each other. It's kind of hard to explain, and I said I'll have a video where I show some examples of this. But oftentimes I found that minimal compression is definitely the way to go for most elements, or no compression at all. Oftentimes if I'm using Nexus 2 for pianos, violins, strings, stuff like that, I don't even use compression. It sounds pretty good out of the box, and it's pretty compressed. I'll use minimal compression on bass lines, depending on the track again, and I said I'll compress drums depending on the situation. But the moral of the story, and the point I really want to make with this video is, if you're compressing just because you think it's the right thing to do, trust your ears and go with what sounds better. Not every single element needs to be compressed to death, and that could be a good song, Compressed to Death. Not every single element needs to be compressed, heavily compressed. You know, mild compression is different, and if your tracks are sounding too boomy on the bottom ends, you know, too hollow and too just like a rumbled, chaotic mess, it could be the fact that you have you know, other than a poor mix, obviously, but it could be that you have too much compression on all the synths, and they're all too dense, and they're all fighting for the same spot. You know, when you don't have compression, you allow the track more air to breathe, and you allow the elements to hopefully fit together a bit better. So yeah, I hope that video made sense. A bit of a rant on my part, but if you follow it through, hopefully it helps you a little bit. But I will definitely do a video here shortly where I show examples of all of these things. Like I said, I need to be on my studio computer with my sub in order to do that. And you guys have any questions, just let me know. And compress heavy, compress mild, do whatever sounds good, but don't think you need to just compress because all the cool kids are doing it. Alright, peace guys. Oh, if you get a chance, drop me a vote for that remix contest. I would truly appreciate it. Cool, thanks.